Good morning, friends and neighbors and everybody else. How y'all doing? It says I'm live. And this is David Null. I'm back, I hope, for a while. I have been having issues with computers. And I know what? Oh, this thing. Okay, am I still live? Okay. It tries to load an app on this Chromebook and it won't work. I know I complain about it every time, but I go through it every time, and I can't get rid of the daggum thing. So anyway, how are you all today? This is Sunday morning at it's 8:20. It's a 4:20 somewhere. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope your weekend is going well. And this is an update for the channel. And I just did one, I forgot how much I like to yap my mouth. So this is another update. I wanted to, I had it and then it just went out the window over there looking for my chickens. I wanted to talk about several things. And one of them is the space wars that are going on in space. Now, there are a lot of folks who just won't tell you the truth. NASA's not telling you the truth. A lot of other folks ain't telling you the truth neither. And until I would like to screen share, but this computer is acting really whacked out. They've made some changes to YouTube or something, and it ain't going live with the thing, or I don't know. Anyway, this was a little not quite as prepared as I wanted to. But what I want to do is I can tell you where to go politely to find some of the information. The space news or space weather. Look for space weather. You can look for JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratories. Look for the solar satellites that monitor the sun, and there's a couple of them. Some of them are you can't see the background stars, and off the top of my head I can't tell you right now. But what I'm fixing to tell you is that there are things going on out there in space that if you take a little bit of time, and I'm gonna try to do another video because there was a really cool event. I guess it's about a week ago now, last weekend, I guess. Holy mackerel, Andy! You talk about stuff going on out there in the solar system on the other side of the sun, but you can see stuff passing in front of, and we're talking 5, 6, in one instance, 10 objects that appear over here, and then on one of them, it's about 10 minutes between pictures. So every 10 minutes, they take a snapshot, okay? And then they put them all together and make a video. That's how they do it, right? A GIF file, GIF. And so, in fact, way back in the day, that's how you made them little jiffy pop-up thingies that probably you still do, is you take a picture and then another picture, like with me having my head turned this way, back and forth, blah, 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 blah. But each one of them was a separate picture, which video, when you pick frames per second, like 30 frames per second, that means there are 30 pictures in 1 second. It's quick, ain't it? Wait. Yeah. So you can go to the Soho satellite, and Lord have mercy, my brain is trying not to work this morning. Go out there and check, though, and you'll see stars, and the satellite moves along with the Earth, right? So as the satellite moves this way, you can see a star pattern in the background behind the sun move ever so slowly. That's normal. But then you see groups of stuff that'll pop up over here and then disappear. And then they'll be pop up over here 1 or 2 frames later. Now, the distance on that thing, you know, the Earth is 24,000 miles across in diameter. I think that's right. Wait a minute, that's the circumference. Anyway, the Earth is wide. Okay, either way you look at it. Moon's pretty big size too, but the moon don't even show up when it's next to the sun. The Earth looks like about this big, and the sun looks this big. Okay. Well, when you see a group of stars that appear in one frame that are at least the size of the Earth, and then they disappear and then reappear and then disappear and reappear. What is, wow, that's an anomaly. That's what NASA says. That's what JPL says. They don't want to tell you that there are 1 million spaceships that have come to the aid of our solar system, not just planet Earth. And no, they're not going to come down here and save us from the blue meanies. We got to do that part. However, they're going to keep other folks out of the way so they don't interfere with us cleaning up the blue meanies. You understand? Does that make sense? Maybe not. All right. Well, I'm speaking a little bit in a code because if I blurt it right out, they'll shut this feed, they'll shut this feed off like they have in the past. Hopefully things are better now. That's why I have been instructed that I need to get back online. I need to put out videos, and I need to be 1 or 2 a day, and I need to discuss the things that are going on. Now, there are cosmic. Oh man, my apologies. I thought I was more prepared, but my brain is doing a little flippy floppy thing that it loves to do so much. I'm going to speak on that for just a moment, because there are people these days that are having problems with their memory. And I know mine, I've had like 20, get this, 20 serious brain concussions, 20 car accidents, you know, got hit in the back of the head with a brick. Somebody hit me with a baseball bat one time in the head. I mean, you know, I hit this and bam, it's been rough. Well, I've also been to neurologists who have given me medicine and tested me with bright lights and stuff. And the last time they did that with the bright lights, we have to talk about that. Bright lights today are how they control you when you're watching regular television set. If you see any type of commercial that goes flash, 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 there's a hawk right outside. Watching my chickens in my chicken pen. I mean, that thing is right out there. There's a pair of hawks that have been on this property. And I say on this property, I mean, they literally had a nest here for several years, and then a hurricane came along many years ago and knocked the nest out. But they still live here. I mean, almost daily you can hear usually the female doing all the squawking, and the male is smaller than. And anyway, I'm sorry. I was watching my chicken pen because I added a new section for my chickens, and it's mostly covered, and a hawk could get in there, but it might not get back out. And I think they'd be sitting up there and watching them chickens going, how can I get in there? Well, I got to go back out, and that's one on my list of chores to do today. Is fix up the chicken pen. Oh, okay. All right. I digress. Sorry about that. The deal with the space program and the things that are going on out there, they're, they get Neil deGrasse Tyson and some of these other guys. Now, the Oriental Japanese, or I think descendant Michio Kaku, or that gentleman has been trying to tell the truth for a while. In fact, recently, with all these spates of hurricanes, he actually said that, oh yeah, we have the technology, and we've had it for a long time, on how to create storms, hurricanes, and not so much about tornadoes. They can create the weather that will make a tornado, and they have. Katrina was the big test on the whether or not they could stir a hurricane, steer a hurricane. My teeth are bad, and I'm missing most of them, and it's difficult for me to speak clearly sometimes. So, yeah, they lied to us about everything, or they don't tell us the truth, or they'll print an article on the back page of a newspaper and say, NASA just found something. And they said, well, we told you, but they will never, ever speak of it again. And they will just dang near take their own life to lie about it. That, oh, no, we didn't say that. Well, yeah, you did, So the thing about the objects appearing on the satellites of the sun are unmistakable. They're like, well, that's just an anomaly. Well, those are rogue asteroids. There's a dozen of them, and they're all about the size of our moon. And you're trying to tell me there's, 7 of these in a cluster moving around our solar system, and you go, don't worry about it. Recently, there was a statement that they had found within the last year 40 new, completely hadn't seen yet, and they've been giving them numbers instead of names, but I think they're running out of Greek names of warriors and stuff. They name these things god awful. Oh, look, there's Planet Mary. It was my grandmother's name, by the way. Oh, and my sister's youngest daughter, my niece, her name's Mary as well, named after my grandma. But no, I gotta name them Pothos and Pluto and Uranus. I love that one. And we always got a kick out of that in school, and then they want to say, no, it's Uranus. Well, that sounds almost as bad. Uranus. Never mind. So I'm being a 12-year-old kid in grade school. So well, that's how they treat us. I mean, there are a bunch of us who are adults, but with the mind control, the flashing lights, the flickerings, they'll do these roundup things where there's a flashing light and things are spinning and doing all this click, 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 click. Whether they intended to control your mind and say something during those few frames, that's one thing. It's another thing to plan it. Plan it. Like to plan something, not a planet as like Pluto. It's a dwarf. So they don't tell you these things. And then they turn around and go, well, your memory must be bad because y'all are getting old. We didn't say that. Oh, my goodness. I watched live one of the Apollo missions where they put the flag up and the wind was blowing the flag. Oh, this. Oh no, there's a piece of wire on it. No, the first time they filmed the flag, there wasn't a wire to hold it up, and you could see it fluttering. And there were a bunch of us. I mean, we were watching it. Well, at that time, the first feed was in black and white and really nasty grainy. The second one, I think, was a little better, and I think the third was like in color. But anyway, so at least to us earthlings. So you've seen this flag fluttering in the wind that the moon's not supposed to have wind. They were on a sound set, but you know. Oh, and people have been trying to debunk the shadows. If the sun's up over here and there are 4 people standing in a row, yeah, you might all be a little bit apart, but the shadows should all go in the same pretty much direction. Now, the guy on the end, the first 3, their shadows pretty much match, but the guy over here on the left-hand side, his shadows go in the opposite direction. Like, wrong. And they try to point that out as, oh, well, that's just a misdirection. Honey, please. I've done a lot of theater in my day, and I've set a bunch of lights for, you know, this over here on the stage and this and blah, blah, blah. And you want to make sure, you know, and I can tell from the light booth whether or not I've set a light correctly. Guess what? By looking at where their shadow hits on the floor and on the wall, and whether or not I need to adjust the lamp left or right. So some of these pictures are so bad with the lighting that the angles go off in all different directions. Now, one other really big thing no one has ever talked about. Well, a little, maybe 1 or 2 along the way, but I mean, if you watch YouTube videos and documentaries and stuff about even the whistleblowers talking about, well, we didn't really go to the moon, and you know, blah blah blah. Here's the one. You know the little car they drive around in up there? It wasn't called the Rover, was it? Well, anyway, the little Jeepy thing, right? Nobody ever saw it taken off of the LEM, the landing module. Nobody saw it come down, or the package come off, or the foil. And what's very interesting is there are several pictures of the different Apollos. It's after the first landing. It's probably about the 3rd or 4th landing. Okay. Beautiful picture of that cart sitting on the moon. Now, here's the lunar module, and the car is kind of sitting at a slight angle from the lunar module, because you can see the base of it here, and here's the car. There are no tire tracks. It's just sitting there. There are no tire tracks of them like pulling it down and turning it around and pushing it over there. There's no wheel marks in the sand. None. Of all the things that everybody can tell me, well, the light was this and that. Okay. How did you get that car off of the LEM and onto the moon? Where's the foil? Where was it on the LEM? Where they showed us pictures of the mock-up, but we never saw the car on the side of the lunar module while it was on the moon. Oh, we didn't have the cameras off, and then we went ahead and took it down. Okay, fine. All right. However, if you take something down and put it on the ground, if you take it off of a flat side, it's going to come down like this. And to get it parked at an angle to the LEM, did they carry it over there and sit it down? There's not nary a tire mark on. I mean, there's nothing. It's like somebody took a broom underneath there and made all the sand nice and clean, front and back, and in between the tires. So I mean, you'd have thunk that if they set it down. I mean, I've moved carnival rides and mopeds and, you know, four-wheelers and lawnmowers and stuff, right? They've taken them off of trailers and things. You can't help but leave a little bit of marks in the sand. I don't care how careful you try to set something off. It's going to roll a little this way, or it's going to roll a little this way. And it leaves a little bit of marks in the sand from the tires. How'd they get that limb? How'd they get that car off of that landing module without them tires making a single mark in the sand? They posed the picture. Come on. I'm sorry. Do I think they went to the moon? Yeah. But they didn't go in them tin cans. Oh, no, they went in a real spaceship. But that's another story, because that's part of the lie, you see. They don't want to tell you about the secret space program. Not a bit. Nope. Well, I ain't going to tell you about that. I found... I've been watching the stars since I've been 8, 9, 10 years old as a Cub Scout, and then there's some Webelos is in between Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. Cub Scouts, Webelos, Boy Scouts. All right. Made it to first class with work. I was working on some of my things I knew I was never going to get to Eagle, but I did want to go to the next one up, right? I wanted to be more than just the first class. But I like camping too much. I like hiking too much. I like playing in the woods too much. Nah, what about this thing about doing it? Never mind. Still learned a lot. I just never got the medal for it. It's like I didn't graduate, but I still went to school, you know? Still learned. So anyway, I even took a course at Hillsborough Junior College in Tampa in astronomy. I wanted to be an astronomer. I like being up at night. I like watching the sky. Perfect job, man, right? Become an astronomer, do what you like to do, and get paid for it. And, you know, so I went to school for it. I did. Had books on it. I read this. I have forgotten so much of what I've learned because of the mind thingies they've been doing to me, right? I'm getting my memory back. So what they've been telling me about stars and planets, and when I was growing up, I don't remember them telling me that Mars had 2 moons. I don't remember Mars having 1 moon. Mars was just Mars. Now it's got 2 moons. And I was like, what? Now, I studied physics. I had to take, to become an engineer, I had to take courses in physics, strength and stress of materials. You know, you got to know if something's going to break, bend, deflection, all that kind of stuff. What does heat do to, you know, metal? They expand and contract, you know, and sometimes a bunch. So everything's cool. And, you know, Einstein, you know, that relativity, the speed of light is constant. No, it's not. Light is not a constant. Do you know how they arrived at the speed of light? I was shocked. It's the average. Some scientists over in Hungary, or Poland, Russia, some scientists from different places did tests with light, and they all come up with a different value. Oh, but you hear it from all the top scientists. The speed of light is dum, 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 dum. And that planet or that star system is X amount of light years away. Well, they don't tell you they took an average. And all the years that I have studied science, and I have studied science, But no degrees. I'm sorry. I don't have any degrees. I did complete 2 years of study for forestry. But my diploma and all that stuff got burned in a house fire, and the school is no longer in business, so I can't prove it, but I did. I do have a diploma for 2 years of drafting and engineering basics in machine tool design and so forth. I've worked as a machinist for many years, making the parts, and then I got to the point where I was like, I know more than these guys. They don't even know what hole size they need, and it makes a big difference. If somebody says, well, I want a half-inch, I want you to drill and tap a half-inch hole. Well, did you know there's 3 or 4 different drill sizes you can use for that? And it will make the bolt very tight where you can barely get it in there, or it'll be so loose in there that, it's got a lot of wiggle in it. So, and depending on the part or what you're doing, that makes a difference. It really does. Trust me, I've worked there. I've worked in the big industry. For the company I worked for, the last big job I had, they made all the spark plugs for every single Ford, both in North America and Europe. They made all the spark plugs for every Chrysler made. All the Hemi engines and all that. I was in on the designing of the spark plug layout for the new Hemi engine when it came out. Well, it's been 10 years ago at least now. Well, no, 13, 14 years ago now, actually. 2005 is when I was finalizing up with some of that. But so, I've worked with the big guys. I've seen what they can do, and I'm not impressed, really, because I'm a nobody from South Georgia. I learned machinist from an old machinist. I learned the good stuff from a guy who never had anything digital. It was all the little all the little dials and all the little hash marks and everything. There were no digital tools back in those days, or they were so expensive you couldn't afford them. So, I got a set of calipers over here that I've had for 30 years. No, longer than that. Crap. Almost 35 years I've had this set of calipers. Not a dial, just a regular old, gotta read the hash marks. So, but anyway, so I do have experience in things, So as an engineer and an observer from many different points, from watching nature and science and biology, to watching the stars and the planets and rotations and so forth, to building complex machines with very, very, very tight tolerances for Ford, Chrysler, Nissan, Honda, and there was one other company we made spark plugs for. But anyway. And I mean, they sent me to Toronto to fix a problem because the guys up there couldn't do it. I mean, I just had a knack for being able to see things. That's my point. Not that I'm bragging. I'm able to discern. So when I look at stuff like this, I go, what you talking about, Willis? Now, how'd they get that little full wheel cart off of that limb? I didn't see no, I can understand that they could let it down with a, with a winching thing, and the fact that they're on the moon, and the gravity's less and all that kind of stuff. But then how come them guys couldn't jump? I mean, if you weigh a third less, you ought to be able to jump higher than this off the ground. I mean, just saying. And you shouldn't have to put a wire in the flag, and then when they did, it still flapped in the wind. It was just ridiculous. But so they've lied to us. Do you think they're telling us how many planets they actually see out there, or how many they saw? I mean, they just found a new asteroid just a few days ago that's like 12 miles wide and supposed to have a pretty close call with us. Now, here's all this stuff going on, but then they said, well, it might not come in for another 7 years. But they didn't say that in the beginning. They said 12-mile wide asteroid just found, gonna come close to the Earth. Okay. Well, now you got my attention. But at the end of the article, it says, 2024 or something like that. Well, what the hell did you get me all excited for? You want to raise my blood pressure up to tell me about a 12-mile wide asteroid. Well, that's pretty good size, Would not want it to hit the Earth, please. However, you could have said in the headline, 12-mile asteroid in 2027 or whatever the date will scoot by the Earth. They didn't say that in the headlines. They made you go, and this is supposed to be the good folks. Your MSNs and all them. You get the truth from me and other folks like me who are on the ground, who have worked for some of these crazy folks, who have been and seen and done and blah, 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 who are trained in observation and go, wait a minute, what'd you just say? Now, you've been getting me upset for a long time telling me about rocks passing the Earth. Oh, my God, it's going to be a close blow. Well, it's going to be a 500,000 miles on the other side of the moon, but it's going to be a close call. Oh, shut up. If it comes between the moon and us, that's a closer call. But the moon's supposed to be 290,000 miles away. Repeat, 290,000 miles. That's 290,000. Now, a 12-mile wide asteroid has got a lot of room, and it could go either way. So why are these guys, hold on to your butt because there's an asteroid coming? They raise everybody's blood pressure. That's wrong. That's just dead wrong. They shouldn't be doing this stuff. They won't tell us the truth. There's a space war going on up there. Me personally, I've seen an orange orb go over, and just about time it got a little bit about to here in my eyesight, a white orb popped up, shot a laser beam at it, disappeared, blew up the orb, the orange orb, and all of it disappeared. About 2 months ago. In my yard, I watched it. I've seen other events that just absolutely, nope, that's not a comet. No, that's space debris. They just shot down one of the aliens trying to leave the planet and get away because there are 1 million spaceships in and around our solar system. About a year ago, roughly, scientists came out and they were talking about the Kuiper Belt or the Cooper Belt. It's Kuiper, I think. But the original pronunciation that I heard and was used mainstream at the time was Kuiper Belt. Okay, I'm going to stick with that. Okay, Kuiper Belt. The Oort cloud. Ever heard of that in science? Out in space? Wow, they keep seeing more stuff out there. Well, how many years have they had the Hubble? Quite a few. Let's just say 20. Just, at least. How many other satellites have they sent up there? I mean, Mount Palomar telescope, California, I believe, it's huge. They've got radio telescopes. That one in Chile is just like, sits between a bunch of mountains and a valley kind of thing, They've got huge other optical telescopes like out on Hawaii. Huge ones. And they're pointing at different things, different sizes. Now, they have been able to view the Kuiper Belt for a long time now. Okay. But within the last year and a half, all of a sudden they're talking about, wow, there's a lot of stuff out there in that Kuiper Belt in the thousands and maybe even the millions. And some of them are really big, you know, like the size of Pluto. I mean, I'm sorry, the size of Jupiter. They're quote, finding these things in the Kuiper Belt. Well, several years ago, in the underground news and of space and aliens and all that woo-woo, we were told that there was going to be a large contingency of vehicles come into our solar system, because it wasn't just the planet Earth that had some bad guys on it. Almost every single planet, you know, the moon's hollow. I mean, you've heard stories of the dark side of the moon. Yeah, the moon's hollow. You know, they've bounced nukes off of it and listened to it ring for hours. God bless the people that are living in there now. Mars is hollow. All the planets are pretty much hollow. Oh, nobody lives on Jupiter. Want to bet? Want to bet? There have been spacecraft seen going into the cloud vapors of Jupiter. The rings around Saturn. One of the rings, and they took the videos down because it happened all them years ago, and I don't know, Cassini or one of them earlier spaceships went by Saturn on its way out of the, you know, ballpark here. Well, they took some really nice photos of the rings. Well, when people started looking at the photos of the rings, they were finding large moon-sized debris of spaceships. I kid you not. I saw some of the pictures way back then. I'm like, whoa, dude, that was before the internet got really big up, right? Had to actually go and look at them in a book, you know, and we were looking at them with magnifying glasses and stuff, right? And then some of them come out digital, but then when folks started really picking at them, they took them back out. They took them down. Just like the Chinese went and took pictures up there on the moon. What did they see? They sent a bunch of pictures back. And them pictures were really clear and didn't look nothing like the ones we got from NASA. What? You mean they tinkered with the photographs? Oh, yeah. What, there's no stars behind the astronauts? That's a black screen back there, guys. They have so much messed with us. It is so pathetic. Now, all the reasons they say we're good. Now, let's go to a part that in discussion, there are cloaked spaceships around our planet right this very, 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 very minute. Very, very minute. Now, there are photographs circulating through the internet, on YouTube especially, and they're showing this blue orb near or around the sun, or sometimes the blue orb comes up before the sun, or goes down, or you see it after the sun has gone down. So it depends. There have been some folks that take a picture at 10 o'clock in the morning with the sun up, you know, fairly decent, and there's this blue orb, left side, right side. Now, everybody wants to say, whoa, that's Planet X, that's Nibiru or Nibiru, or no, it's not. Because, yes, it's a good sized sphere. If you compare it to what the moon looks like, and of course the sun is huge, but when the moon has the tendency to get just right, we have a solar eclipse. And it leaves a dark spot on the ground, like just happened in August here. So that's okay. That's cool. Alrighty, righty. Everything's groovy, you know. But how come some of this space debris that you have photographed but won't let us look at looks like a blown up spaceship from Star Wars? Looks like a battle cruiser from, you know, from the Death Star, you know? I mean, that one moon out yonder, Neptune-ish, or maybe Uranus, it's got the thing on it. It looks just like the Death Star. It even looks like somebody took two coconut halves, and tried to put them back together again. And there's a ridge all the way around the diameter, I mean, the circumference of this thing, right where the diameter would be. And it looks like somebody welded the thing together. Oh, and comets. The time they put that little probe on that comet. Oh, comets are made of, they're icy balls with dust. No, they're not. Stop lying to us. Oh, there's another comet spotted, and it's glowing right now, and it's a billion miles away. Okay. We can see its tail, all of the ice and dust come up. Would you shut up with the ice and dust? They put a probe on a comet. There wasn't any dust. I mean, if these comets are flying through the universe and giving off dust for 100 million miles one way, how long do you think it would take before there was nothing left of that there comet? Oh, the dust would be gone. But they will still, they shoved it down my throat the other day when I was watching a little thing about, oh, blah, 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 and the comet, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and the first thing they went into with comets are, you know, they're great big giant icy snowballs that throw off dust and ice particles into the, oh, shut up. It's not true. Just like the speed of light is an average. How long? Nothing is faster than the speed of light. If you have studied any kind of science, nothing is faster than the speed of light. Well, if you try to go to Alpha Centauri, you'd never get there because you'd have to get to the speed of light, and then you'd have to slow down. It'd take you forever. Did you know that recently, since the CERN collider thing opened up over in Switzerland and there, Geneva, they were looking for the God particle? They kind of still are, but in another way. Well, I think it's been about 4 years ago, they proved the Higgs boson theory. Oh, yeah, there it is. And there's quarks, too. What they failed to tell us, oh, it's going around, but not much. What they failed to tell us was that in searching for this particle, which proved the Higgs boson theory, which I thought was a good thing, the man deserved it, thinking ahead. Critical thinker. They found out that, sure enough, the speed of light was not constant. Nope. It's not 1,000 million, whatever it says in the book. It's an average. Which means you can go faster, but you could go slower. But nothing is faster than the speed of light. Really? Then what is a graviton? It's a gravity particle. Well, what? Gravity? Well, when the Earth spins, that's what holds us down on the Earth, right? No. No. Nope. Gravity, number one, as they're learning here recently, within the last couple of years, gravity is 100,000 times faster than the speed of light. 100,000. Wait a minute. Or was it 10,000? I might have added too many zeros. Okay, let's back up. It's 10,000 times faster. If it was 100 times faster than the speed of light, but it's 10,000 or 100 million, or it's way up there, because several different institutes took the information, did their own specific test, because the whole thing about science is trying to duplicate your experiment and what the variation is between yours and mine. So they found out that even at slow speed, it was 100 times faster, gravity meaning, than the speed of light. Have you heard that nice African-American black gentleman, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a smart physicist and knows all about this stuff? Have you heard him mention anything about a graviton, anything about gravity, now with the new information in the electric universe, that, between magnetism and gravity, or the graviton, not tron. The gravitron is a carnival ride that the first ones I ever saw was called the Roundup. And you get in it and it spins like the dickens, then it'll turn you sideways and it'll bring you back down. And people are standing on it and doing all this. That's a gravitron. Now, but it uses the spinning motion as a gravity effect. So the graviton, with T-O-N instead of T-R-O-N, graviton, is a gravity particle that apparently can go all the way through the earth. Boom, you know, I'm missing a beat. They go through us all the time and all this other weird quantum stuff. But there's nothing faster than the speed of light. How long have you known this? That's fake? Oh, well, they knew back in Einstein's time that the speed of light was actually an average. I've studied science a long time. I've taken courses in colleges. I've sat in on classes in colleges. I've watched college courses on the internet, MIT. There's another college I can't remember off the top of my head, but that they stream some of their courses, so you can sit in and learn. Now, in one of those lectures, they may have discussed this. But it's since Einstein, who, when his, the E equals mc squared, mass times the constant. The constant is supposed to be the speed of light. If the speed of light varies and is only an average, then your equation's obviously wrong. Einstein. Now, he didn't try to promote it, but everybody else did. Because there were too many wiggly stuffs on the side. They were trying to make Tesla look like an idiot. So they shut Tesla up and brought Einstein into the play as a great theoretical physicist, when actually there were lots of stuff missing from his model. He admitted it. There's some strange science going on over here, and that's the quantum quark-ish stuff, Higgs boson thing. Oh, and by the way, Einstein, did you know that the speed of light was an average? How can you have E equals mc squared when C is not constant? Do you get it? Do you see how absurd this is? Now, has anybody told you that? No. Well, they haven't told you a lot of stuff. So if they're lying about the speed of light, they won't tell you about the graviton because it's 100 or 10,000 times faster than the speed of light, which is whizzing by, buddy. So if you could get a spaceship to float on a gravity wave, it would be to Alpha Centauri and back before you could ever get the light, the one that's travel at the speed of light, ever gets warmed up. You'd be back in time for dinner. You know what I'm saying? So when they talk about those scientists out there well, them spaceships, they can't be going in between the Kuiper Belt and here because, well, nothing could travel that fast. I mean, you know, the speed of light. Do you know how long it? Oh, shut up. You're lying to us. You didn't tell us that light speed was an average. You didn't tell us that a gravity wave is 100 times or 10,000 times faster than the light. These beings obviously are traveling on when I've seen them disappear. Nothing goes that fast. I mean, you say light, oh, boom, it's like, well, the flashlight went off. When I saw the little skirmish up over Georgia, where did that white one go when he disappeared after he materialized because they can't shoot a laser weapon when they're cloaked? You know, watch the movies. But in real life, that's true. Some of the devices that spaceships out there, you got your cloaking device and you're not going to be able to shoot through it. You're going to have to shut it off for a minute, shoot your shot, cloak back, just like the Klingons, right? Sort of. So here's our reality, which is faster than light, you know, blah, 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 and empty scrunch. So these are the space things that they're lying to us about. I mean, when I first saw the rings of Saturn through a 10-inch telescope, I was just like, man. And then I got my own telescope later on. I've had several telescopes over the years. They've either been destroyed or stolen or destroyed. And I don't have one right now. I got a piece of one, but I don't have the right combination of lenses anyway. So I have observed, I know friends of mine who have very nice telescopes and very adequately can see the rings around Saturn. You can see the spot on Jupiter. I mean, you know, it's not a picture from NASA or somebody. Oh, look at this. And then if you look in the bottom of some of their pictures, it says artist rendition. Wait a minute. I thought you just said you took a picture of Mars. Well, we did, but this is the artist rendition. Well, where's the picture? Check it out. Oh, look at these pictures of Saturn. But they weren't photographs, they were artist renditions. What? In the last video I did, I was talking about how, you know, NASA scrubs things out of their pictures all the time. Well, it was one night, it's been close to 2 years ago now. And I was up and I was trying to learn how to do the videotaping thing. And one of my computers blew up. I had this one. I'm trying to work things out. And anyway, so I've got the television on and I've got a Roku box, and I flipped on the YouTube clicky thing on the Roku. Okay. And then one of the things that popped up was, oh, Space Station Live. Okay, that's cool. I just put it on in the background and I had some music playing on another device. And I was just, you know, watching and doing chores in the living room and messing with the camera and doing this and that. And so I see the, you know, the spaceship, the space station. You know, you can see a little bit out front and you're looking through the window, and it's coming out of darkness going into the dawn of the Earth, right? As it's traveling. And as it's getting closer to the dawn of the light, it's also getting closer to a humongous spaceship. You know, and then I went, holy crap, is that a, oh my God, it is. Oh, look at that. And so I grabbed the camera, right? And they cut the feed. And I'm like, crap. I said, they probably won't do that again. Well, the feed flickered for like a second or two, and came back on, and dang if it weren't there. I got it on video in one of my files. I just got to find my hard drive and look for them. But sure enough, there is this humongous spaceship coming. Well, they're not like dun 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 dun. No, but they're either the ISS is floating towards it, which is very possible that it was stationary, and the space station was going towards it in its orbit. So, but it was huge. I mean, huge. Not this little dinky. This thing was like it looked like it was a mile long. I ain't lying. Now they cut the feed. I mean, it flickered for a second. No, this was 2 or 3 in the morning. I mean, it was early in the morning, right? And so, who in America is watching the space station, right? Well, it didn't stay on for long, but I was so amazed that it flickered, but then came back on, and I was able to, catch it. So I just videotaped the television with a camera, right? So anyway, but see, these things that I've seen, they're trying to give me this hogwash that none of this other stuff exists. Oh, well, there are no aliens. Oh, and all aliens are good. Well, that's horse too. All aliens aren't nice. No. I mean, one of the last counts of our galaxy, which we're supposed to be on the Sagittarius arm in our little Sol, S-O-L, in our little configuration here in this little, dirt, water, back roads, hippie dippy, swamp hippie kind of thing, or redneck hippie. And here in our little solar system, we're a long way from the center. A lot goes on between us and the center, I'll tell you what. And they had come up with like 10 with a B, 10 billion solar systems. And in each one of those solar systems, there was X amount of planets. And they were narrowing it down to, the Goldilocks, the third planet from the sun, third rock from the sun. Well, but that doesn't, Mars used to be habit, folks used to live on Mars. They still do, but they live in it now. Too much proof of it. Who cleans the windshield on the little rover that's been up there for 5 or 6 years? It was only supposed to run 18 months. Who went out there and cleaned the solar panel off when it got all dusty that time? Oh, and this happened several times. Oh, but a storm come up and washed it off. Wait, you just said washed. You didn't say you said there was no water on Mars. There's water on Mars too. Yep. So say the folks that have come back from the secret space program. So say scientists, when you look at the right pictures, the ones that they took recently with the IR and all this stuff, it shows water and different minerals. There's all kinds of stuff up there. Down in them valleys, there's ice pockets and stuff. There's water on that planet. Same thing with Venus. What? What? Well, you can't see the surface of Venus. So they said that the temperature of the surface of Venus was so 900 degrees. Nothing could live there. And the atmosphere is made with methane and ammonia, and it would kill you, breathe it, touched it. We're not going there. Several years ago, the planet Venus. As the sun was going down, Venus was sitting there, and the moon was there. And I think Mars was up underneath it. There was 3 alignments, and are sort of in the sky lining up. And so I had a really nice telescope at the time. And so we had a little party and we all got together, woo, because they're all so close together. And so we zoomed in on Venus, right? Swear to God, we saw spaceships coming off of the planet Venus. The saucer kind of things like the old 1950s movies. And we're all standing in the yard going, I did you, I did do, how many did you count? 2, I counted 3. And I mean, we're taking turns, right? But each one of us had an opportunity to look. But each time that one of us looked, we each counted X amount of spaceships coming out of Venus. Oh, but Venus is all this blah, blah, blah. Oh, and Mercury, which is the closest to the sun, is so hot that they found that it has polar ice caps. Well, but they told us when I was a kid, if you ever got as close as Mercury, you would be burned alive. Then how come Mercury has polar ice caps? You want to tell me that one? Well, that's been a big lie. Oh, it's so hot out. The sun, we get our heat from the radiation, not from heat like from a flame, like from if you burn a candle or a match. Different kind of heat. Microwave, heat up your cup of water, boom. Yep. And not the cup, depending on the cup. Okay. How come the closest planet to the sun, all of a sudden, I mean, this is 2017 going on 2018. You're telling me for the last 60 years I've been studying this, that Mercury was so hot nothing could live on it, then how in the dickens does it have ice caps? Ice caps on the planet closest to the sun. But it's too hot there. Nothing can live there. Well, we talk about they're full of manure. Period. End of story. And if you just stop and go, oh, God damn. You have to stop and go, wait a minute. Whoa. Is, number one, is it possible that they would lie? The answer is yeah. Okay, if it's possible, and they did they have a good reason for it? Oh, well, sure, they make up one. Well, if we told everybody the real truth, everybody would go flipping crazy. No, we wouldn't. You don't give us, the sheeples, a chance. Those of us who are smart enough, and we find out on our own, are really ticked off that you lied to us, NASA. Never a straight answer, right? They haven't been telling me the truth. If they would, the next time they discuss a comet and they talk about ice and dust, punch them. I just, boom, you know, you liar, boom, you know. I don't want to beat them up, but just all this time you've been shoving this crap down my throat. But when I learned it on my own through reputable scientists, I might add, with telescopes or with real data, other physicists or whoever, that a lot of this stuff they've been telling us is false. Now, doesn't that just grate you one? I mean, we'll never go to another planet. It'd take us years to get to Mars. No, once you get outside the atmosphere, you could be there in about 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. The moon, 10 minutes, you know, hop, skip, and take you longer to get out of the airlock to go into the, you know. Oh, did you know that there's a little bit of air? There is a little bit of atmosphere on the moon. They have so lied to us. So bad. So bad. Oh, and the moon. I have video, if I could find it. And it was on one of my older cameras. It was still like a 2 megapixel camera. It wasn't shoddy, but not a 8 or a 10 megapixel like now. But so I got my camera outside, and I had really good zoom on this camera, right? So I zoom in to the moon. Love looking at the moon. I want to take pictures of the craters and everything. Well, as I'm focusing the camera, I think it was running. It must have been, because I looked at it after. Yep. But see, there were 2 times. Anyway, one time I had the camera on, and one time I didn't. I was trying to focus, get it set, tripod, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, you could see the spaceship go right across the moon. Bloop. Holy crap. Why didn't I have the camera on? Well, the next time I was focusing, camera was on, and I caught another one, and it was looking at the moon about 2 o'clock position. And it, did sort of an arc and didn't quite go out the 7 or 8 o'clock position. It kind of went out towards the 9 o'clock position. Only took a couple of seconds for it to get across the moon. Flat out, UFO round saucer type. Okay. There was another night. Camera was on. I was just looking through it, but the clouds were going by, right? And I was like, every once in a while I'd take a picture, just to see what I could do. And beautiful full moon, and 2 of them, like right across the face of the moon. No pictures, no nothing, but I saw it through the viewfinder. I'm like, crap. I didn't have anything set, Couldn't find the button in time. So I'm going to wrap this one up. And because I could ramble on for more hours, but I'm trying my best. I'm going to try to keep my videos as short as possible and really stick to a topic without, going off too much. But the things that this mainstream science has been arguing about. Let me give you one more. The craters on the moon are not from meteorites. Nope. They're from electrical discharge. Plasma. Okay? The hidden energy source. And folks are working with plasma now. And let me tell you, the more I'm getting my brain back so that I can understand what they're talking about. It's not really difficult, but plasma is there, but it's not until you make it appear. It's really strange, but it's cool nonetheless. And it is all over the universe, everywhere. In fact, I would venture a conjecture that actually what the comet's tail is made out of is plasma, because it's all over the universe. I mean, it's right here between my hands. I mean, there are people who can rub their hands in the right way and manifest a blue ball flame for a second or two. That's plasma. And the energy in that thing is like an atomic bomb, So these folks have just been lying to us. Mr. Cash from the Cash Foundation, he's been doing online trainings for several years now, trying to teach people about plasma, what plasma can do as a generator and for health and for this and that. Everybody says Mr. Cash is a quack. But there are greenhorn folks like me who have been following some of his instructions. Guess what? They're proving Mr. Cash was correct. Everybody else is full of he's just you can't do all the over unity, resonance, magnetism. And he's like, well, watch this. What? People getting cured from the GANZ, GANZ, that is made from copper and how different processes. You can take a piece of copper wire and throw it in a fire and burn it good. And don't wipe it off. When it comes out of that fire and the little tiny particles on it, That's the GANs. Those are nanoparticles, and those things are actually healthy for you. You could put it in a glass of water and put a 9-volt battery to it so it would bubble a little bit, and the GANs would mix with the water. Drink it up. Good for you. Cures stuff. How about that? Did you know that there was a positive type of water and a negative type of water? Did you know if you drink too much distilled water, it will leach out every single mineral in your body and leave you mineral deficient? Did you know that? Has anybody told you that? The more that you make water pure, water will then suck out. It's really strange. I learned about this about 10 years ago or so. The more pure you make water, the more reactive it is with other elements, like salt. If water is pure and there's nothing in it, you take some salt, it'll be dissolved in a pooing before you can stir it, because the water's so pure. But the absorption rate of the water, so water can, drag in all kinds of stuff. And some of it will stick to it. Some stuff it will draw to it, but not stick to it. It's sort of like oilish things anyway. But did you know that a negatively ionized water is actually healthy for you? In doses. Anybody ever tell you that? No. You have to find this out from crazy guys doing weird science in their garage. Well, let me tell you, there are thousands, if not millions, of people in their garages doing experiments. And these folks aren't stupid. Now, I might not know everything about electronics, but when I look at a particular thing and I go, what'd you do that for? Then I find out, like some stuff in machining, like, well, wait a minute. What? Couldn't you use this instead of that then? Oh, well, years ago, they talked about capacitors. Ooh, capacitors. Oh, capacitors store energy. And some little capacitors only store a tiny amount. And then when it needs it, it can discharge that energy. Sometimes it can just boom, like a bug zapper. You ever use them little paddles, and to fly swatter things, that you hold the button down and zap, or a bug zapper that you plug into the wall, There are capacitors in there. And the capacitor charges up. And then when the fly or mosquito or the bug gets between them two pieces of metal, he creates the ground to those 2 points. And that will cause that capacitor to discharge, going to the bug. Now, so I'm thinking, and this has been years ago, I'm tinkering around, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm tinkering more with electronics. But in the last 5-6 years, people are they're taking really big capacitors, and depending on how many voltage, etc., they use 3, 6, 9, 12, whatever is necessary for the voltage they need. So this one particular guy had 6 of these big capacitors, and like in a little plastic tote like ladies would use to put cleaning stuff in for the bathroom or whatever, and little handle thing. So we got 3 of them on each side, divided down the middle, and he's got them hooked up, he's using it to start his car with instead of a battery. And so, and depending on the size of the capacitor, some of them will recover really quick versus a battery that might take all day long. A bank of capacitors could discharge, but you might be able to charge them back up in an hour. Now, I'm just saying, where a battery, if it was discharged the same amount, would take a full 24 hours on a trickle or but the capacitors, that charge right back up. You could even charge the capacitors with a solar collector. quicker than you could a battery on the same solar collector. Now, how many folks in mainstream are talking about capacitors as a battery source? Nobody I know of, at least not in my talk. There's a guy, I think he's in Australia, maybe Wales or New Zealand. He's got a Nazi kind of accent. Anyway, I can't remember his name right now, but he's been working with graphite, which is, I think, is just a really finer powder than than graphite. However, they started tinkering with other types of material, and they were taking this stuff and, chemically and pounding and, making it as fine a particle as possible, and then spreading it really as thin as they could possibly get it on different types of material. Like, one was aluminum foil and some were paper and different things. Well, anyway, so they make these capacitors with this graphene and etc. And they found out that these batteries, okay, so you got a little AA size. It's 1.5 volts. Rechargeable batteries, though, are only 1.2 volts. So some of these rechargeable batteries will not work in some of these digital cameras, like Canon, for example. Now, because it needs a full 3 volts. And even a fully charged rechargeable battery will only get you 2.4. Just saying. So you're 0.6 volts shy of making your camera run. Anyway, so you got to use the heavy duty ones that will hold a charge, right? So I got one camera that goes through batteries like hell. They're not bad, but they won't run the camera. It might be a faulty voltage regulator in the camera. I'm looking into that. Now, the graphene batteries, they've been having just astronomical results, right? So they make these things and they test them out, right? And some of them are literally just a piece of paper with this film on it. It's not wrapped up or anything like that, but the idea is that you make these paper graphene sheets and then you stack them together without touching, of course, but you stack them together. And then you can multiply your voltage to 6 volts, 12 volts, whatever you need, right? So then they put them on a load. They turn on a light and they test it. And they put it on a meter, and they'll put a decent load to where it won't drop the battery, but it's enough to drain the battery. So they hooked this thing up, and they found out that a 1.5 will drop to a 1.3, kind of quick on the curve. It starts out down to 1.3, but then it stays at 1.3 for hours and hours and hours, and then it drops down to 1.2, 1.1, and then the battery's not good enough to run whatever the appliance was, right? Because the voltage is too low. Well, they unhooked the clips, called it a night, went to bed, got up, had breakfast, walked back out in the shop, and decided they would check the voltage on those graphene sheets. So they took them down to like 0.9 volts. Lo and behold, after just sitting, not hooked up to nothing, the next morning, they was 1.4 volts. It had almost recovered its full potential without a recharge. It recharged itself from the plasma and the quantum mechanics in our universe. In other words, the air passing by my face right now as I push it back and forth. There's enough energy that it could collect from the surrounding air to recharge almost to a fullest. without a charger. Now, who's talking about that? They're talking about new batteries, this and that and the other thing, blah, 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 blah. Ain't no mainstream, oh, new science, graphene things. No, because it's a couple of guys in a shop in a third world country, as Americans think, some Americans. So it's being ignored by mainstream. A lot of guys in their garage. I'm fixing to start on it too. Now, they decided in sitting around and having a pint that what if they tried different materials other than just graphene? What results could it work? They ended up trying a bunch of stuff, but one particular video that I watched here a couple months back, he was laughing when he started up the video. He said, guys, we were doing this thing. He says, we got a hold of some hemp, marijuana. And he said, and we, chopped it up, pulverized it pretty good, because hemp's used for a lot of stuff because of its cellulose properties. Cellulose is what most plants are made out of, actually. So it's a plant fiber, okay? But some of them are more dense and etc. Well, they took this hemp, pounded it, beat the crap out of it, run it through a blender. I mean, they got it as fine of particles as they could, all right? Just like they would any other material, because if you have a bunch of small, tiny particles on a sheet, then that's what gives you your electrical discharge, okay? They want a little bit of space between them, but not much. They don't want it all sandwiched together. Not too tightly, they found. And so they did the hemp, spread it out on these papers. It didn't work as good as the graphene, but it worked. They made batteries out of hemp. Hemp and paper or aluminum foil. Hemp, okay? Not marijuana, but hemp. The commercial make clothes and baskets and stuff out of. They're even using different types of sugar from cornstarch and mixing it in a paste and because hemp is so strong, during all the wars past, they used hemp ropes on them big battleships, and all them big ships were all made out of hemp. During World War II, Missouri and out in there grew a bunch of hemp for the government legally. But it was illegal to have hemp or marijuana because they made it a class 1 drug, right? Still today. Pot is more dangerous than crack cocaine. How about that one? So they made a battery, though, out of weeds. Out of weeds. Now, the hemp, okay, but it's a weed. Now, I got other weeds in my yard. I don't know if I have enough, to chop. That's not the point. The point of the matter is there are people doing outrageously cool stuff, but they, won't tell you the truth. They won't. I don't know what skin off their nose it is, but people who think they're right and down deep inside they figure they're not, but they're going to put up with it anyway. I've had to do that, and it's a nasty feeling, and I got out of it as quick as I could. Oh, agree with me. Yeah, well, you can keep your job. Yeah, well, oh boy, how so? So these folks in the science community have, I don't know, maybe signed in blood. I agree that Einstein was right. I agree that blah, blah, blah. I agree that, I agree. And they won't back off. Now, Mitch, Kaku, I'm probably murdering his name. Forgive me if you ever hear this. But that gentleman has been able to say, well, you know, a few years ago, we didn't think this was possible. Now, if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, oh, well, you know, we still think it's impossible. What? So you've got two physicists. Michio Kaku is much brighter than this guy, because this guy's only telling us he is continuing the snowball comet. Michio Kaku is going, you know, electric universe says that, Now, there is a machine called an electro discharge machine, EDM. And if you have a really hard metal that you ain't gonna drill with a drill, you ain't gonna cut through it with a torch, not easily. They have an EDM machine. Then you put your part down inside of water solution. Some of them use a little bit of salt in it or whatever to help the conductivity. And you bolt this thing in, put water in the tray, and then there's an electrical probe that comes down, different sizes for whatever you're trying to do with the metal. And it literally, it takes an electric discharge. It doesn't touch, but it gets really close, like a welder, but not. But it will cut the metal away. Well, if you were to look at it really close, when the electrical comes down and hits the other thing, it leaves a pock mark, a rough circle, okay? And oddly enough, right in the middle of that circle will be a little divot, little pimple, a little button sticking up, right? And that's from where the tip, that was where the electricity and the metal and everything left a little bit sticking up in the middle. Now, if you look at the craters on the moon, some on Mars, but especially the moon, those aren't impact craters. Because an impact crater, like you out west and look at them craters out there, the big crater national park, blah, 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 it's a hole. There is no little divot in the middle, or a big divot, depending on the hole. On the moon, however, you look at all them craters, most of them have the little divot in the middle. Round circle, little thing around the edge. Not really a crater. It's just like an electric discharge machine, an EDM. Okay? So those in the electrical universe theory, if the moon had a negative charge and the Earth had a positive charge, but the moon got a little too close to the Earth, a spark would come out like static electricity when you rub your socks on the floor and you touch the knob and you can see a spark jump. Well, the Earth, they have not said this specifically. However, when two objects of different charges get too close together, one's going to spit something to the other one. And if it spits it long enough, it's going to make one of those little divots, like on the crater of the moon. Oh my God. So what if the Earth just got too close? And in the early stages, now way back yonder, the moon's hadn't quite found its spot out there, and we're getting electricity back from the Earth and the moon. It's going to make pock marks on the moon, just like electrical discharge. Are scientists telling us that? Some of them are. That's the good news. Some of them are. Same thing with some of this other stuff. The graviton, it's starting to come out. Why are we talking about the speed of light? I watched an interview the other day. I'll try to post it if I can. The guy was saying, you know, I'm tired of these people telling everybody that the speed of light is constant when it's not. And we all know that, don't we? And it was a room full of people, yeah, mumble, mumble, mumble. And I'm going, holy crap. I just turned 65, and you're telling me the speed of light is not a constant? Oh, Jimmy Christmas. Thank God I wasn't trying to plot a course to Jupiter. I mean, the plasma thing Mr. Cash has been playing with and other folks have been playing with. You've heard of plasma of this and plasma of that. Man, you could hold in a thermos thing, coffee mug thing, or, enough energy, if you could make the engine correctly, to create a plasma density that could. Now, that's not an anti-gravity device to shoot you across the universe, but you could get to Mars in less than 2 days. Duh, not months, we'll have to wait it out and then we'll come back. No, go drop them off and come back for some more. Oh, man. And then when folks find out there are people already on Mars now, and that we've been on Mars since like about 1961, but they didn't tell Kennedy. And that was one of the things, we can set our plans and we can go to the moon and because he knew we had stuff in the 60s that we got from the Germans from World War II that could get us to Mars. They could get us to the moon. Now, did them folks help us get there? Use an anti-grav or plasma or anything? No. And no, they had to put oxygen and kerosene and nitrogen and all this other fancy stuff in a rocket and shoot it, oh God, straight up. Years ago, I'm going to get off this topic here, but this just goes to show you. Now, the secret plane, the space plane that flew by itself or without somebody on board, they say, for 16 or 18 months without coming back to Earth, okay? Oh, it's back now, right? Or send it back up. They didn't put it on a rocket. Back when I was growing up, they strapped an X-15 rocket with a guy in it under like a B-52 bomber, okay? They took him way up in the stratosphere. He dropped down, fired the rockets, and he was in outer space. Low Earth orbit, but nonetheless, that's how they practice getting there. Now, in the 1950s and 60s, I'm watching the X-15 thinking, whoa, dude. So even the SpaceX guy or one of them guys, I don't think it's Elon Musk, there's another group, but they came up with this novel idea. And they made them out of polycarbonate and stuff, and they've been up and back a couple of times. I'm not sure what happened the last time. They were having an issue with doing this number coming back in on re-entry. However, they took the spaceship up on a space plane to a very high altitude. And then they separated. The plane drops, and the rocket goes on up into space. They didn't bother to try to go straight up, which is the dumbest thing in the world. What are these people thinking? In the 1960s and 70s, they had in Popular Science and Popular Mechanics magazines, if I could find them, they showed this ramp that out in the middle of the desert, they were going to build this incline ramp, okay? And they were going to use a catapult system like they used to shoot planes off of aircraft carriers, okay? But this one was going to be like a mile long and was going to shoot a spaceship or whatever using, it was sort of like a combination of slingshot and hydraulics, okay? And it was just going to go up this ramp, and as it went up this ramp, it was going to gain speed. But when it gained it, it wasn't going straight up. It was going to go at about a 45-degree angle. that with the jet rockets and the design of the spacecraft, sort of like the space shuttle, but the wings were different. It was more of an airplane than the space shuttle was. I mean, you know, if you listen to some of the pilots of the space shuttle, they say it was, you know, like trying to control a big rock falling out of the sky, you know, the way it maneuvered. And so, similar to a plane, but not really. So, but this other one that was supposed to be shot off this catapult was more like a plane, because when it re-entered the atmosphere, it came in and glided all over the place, blah, 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 because it didn't try to fall out of the sky. It came in at a slight incline, 15, 20 degrees, nothing to burn you up, but it would come into the lower upper atmosphere and then slowly descend and then slowly descend and then land. None of this, oh, we got to do a trajectory. Oh, well, there you go. And then the thing lights up like a big ball of flame with all plasma going on around it and heat shields and blah, 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 blah. And then hope, you know, nah, they don't fly it. It was you know, they guided it. This other one made so much more sense. Now, do we see any of those? No. What are they doing with rockets these days? Shooting them straight up in the air. They had at one time a Super Fortress bomber from World War II, outfitted specifically. I mean, that Boeing that used to carry the space shuttle around, they had a bigger airplane with a different style of tether thing on it so that it could take it up to a high altitude. The back of the plane was made with ceramic tiles so that when the jet engines actually they were jet engine type at low altitude because there was still enough air, a little ramjet kind of thing, but then it would switch to rocket after, you know, after it cleared the plane kind of thing, you know. So here's the airplane flying along at a good speed. So this has already got a good speed going. It cranks up its engines, separates from the other one, gets up a couple thousand more feet, slams that rocket engine on and turns off the, you know, the jet, and they're in orbit. Not all these stages falling off and all this rocket fuel and oxygen and all this crap, all these gantries and all this stuff. No. Nah. No. That's how stupid we are. This is 2017 going on 2018, and we're still trying to go straight up into space with a rocket. There are better ideas that are 30 years old. Now, what's to say they ain't doing them out in the middle of the desert? That's another story. If they went to all the money to prove that it could work, why would they scrap it? Search me. That's how smart they are. So, there are things happening in the sky, in the universe, in our solar system, in our galaxy. There are exoplanets that are actually starships. They're not Death Stars for you and me, but maybe for them. But they're here to help planet Earth, because planet Earth is a very special place. Not only in our solar system, but in the galaxy. And I found out the other day that not just in our galaxy, but also like in the universe, because of this quantum entanglement, because gravity travels 100,000 times more than light, the quantum entanglement says that if I speak these words in quantum entanglement, you can hear my words 36 light years away. instantly, like that. No time delay. Now, one of the things about NASA, watch when they interview the astronauts up there. Okay. Now, it was a NASA panel talking to NASA astronauts in the space station. So the lady moderator from NASA came out and said, because the astronauts are in space, which there's a lot of, I don't know about that either, because they don't really float sometimes, or anyway. And why would there be water in them? They're outside of the spacecraft, and there are water bubbles in the spacesuit. Well, they practice underwater in a huge swimming pool with cameras and the lights and the simulation. And guess what? Water can get into the spaceship and have bubbles. Is there water in space when they're doing an outside repair that they need to come in because there's water inside their helmet? How did that happen? But this is what I wanted to point out. If I'm chatting with somebody on YouTube or Hangouts or something like that, because of distance, there's a slight delay. And you expect it, right? You say hello, hello, and then you wait a second, and the other person answers, because it takes them a few seconds to get over to them versus me and you talking back and forth. Well, and I've seen it more than 10 times, to the point now where I was like, I don't even want to watch their interviews. But this was a special NASA panel, NASA moderator lady person talking. We are talking to the astronauts in the ISS, International Space Station. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know that it'll take a few seconds for our transmission to get up there, for them to hear it, and for them to reply. Now, hello, astronauts. How are you doing today? Fine. How are you? What? Where? There was no delay. One guy delayed. She asked a question. So, Jim, making up the name. So, Jim, how is your day today? And you could see him like counting. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it was fine. It was fine. Everything's fine up here. Yep. Now, she doesn't wait 3 seconds. She replies immediately. The other guy picks up. He hadn't gotten like 1.5 beats before he's answered. And you can see the other are going, 3 seconds. There is no delay. There is no delay. They have faked that too. And there's a good possibility. I would like to think that they're up there, but their communications are a hell of a lot better than what they're telling us. I would rather believe that. However, there is a lot of proof these folks ain't even in orbit. You can tell by the girls, the way their hair like stays in the same place. There's even been a time or two when you could see like it looked like a string or something holding up her ponytail, so it would look like it was floating and that it was the way they were weightless. They always hook their feet underneath a bar or something so they don't float away. Oh, come on. I'm not sure about that, but the delay part, oh man, that is so like there wasn't 1 second and he answered. And even the people on the panel are going, live TV from the JPL Center in Texas. And we're talking to the astronauts with a 5-second delay who answers immediately. I used to get just absolutely so ticked off at this stuff. And then these last few months of my meeting with the water gnomes and fairies and things and other um, elementals, and having wonderful sights of things, and spaceships blowing up each other, and seeing huge amounts of debris coming into the atmosphere at a slow rate, and have the scientists tell us that that was a meteor when there ain't no way, because there are too many colors. Everything that burns has a color at a certain temperature, and they can test metals and things and find out what its compounds are because they burn it. They put it in a furnace and see, and in the different it's not frequencies but light waves. Anyway, certain temperatures will show certain things, and like nickel will be one color at a certain temperature, blah blah blah. So that's how they tell. And guys going back to, Copernicus and the Greeks way back 2,000 years ago knew some of this stuff, right? Because they were making tools with metal and things, right? And the Chinese knew, because when they pound their metal and get it hot, it has to be a certain orange or red or yellow or white, or, otherwise the metal isn't tempered. So these guys know, right? These guys know. So they're trying to say, because I saw one here at the house, and the night I was on the river with there was one that went over at approximately the Georgia-Florida line on the river. This thing went over, and I was like, oh man, there were greens, which is usually copper. There were yellows and reds and purples and deep reds, and they were flying off in all directions. I wonder whose spaceship that was, because meteors just don't do that. Slow burners are not. That was space debris. Did they tell anybody about that? Nope. Fireball seen over Pennsylvania. Okay. Fireball seen over Georgia. Okay. Meteor was space debris. And there's been several videos, and you can tell if you go back and look at the Challenger, the one that burned up on re-entry, right? When you've seen all them things going off and the different colors, you go back and watch that if you can, and then go watch some of these recent fireballs that travel so slow across the sky. Looks just like that space shuttle that burned up. Just like it. I mean, it ain't space shuttle, but as far as the debris and how it comes in and how it scatters, oh man, come on. So there is some real science out there. There are real aliens out there. There are giants who are 20, 30 feet tall with spaceships, and some of them used to live on Saturn and its moons. And some of the giant spaceships are, the debris is left. It's one of the things that makes up one of the middle rings of Saturn. Yeah, they won't show you pictures of that, but you can tell it's like a fuselage of an airplane sticking out, and then there's another part of like a galactic cruiser, looks like it was sliced in half. And there are wires and things dangling out of the end of it. I mean, what? Rings of Saturn. There was a huge war back in the day. And the giants lived on this Earth. They lived on other planets. Some of the, I think it was one of the moons of Saturn that was reported that the ceilings were like 100-foot tall, but the chairs were like, where you sat down was like 30 feet from the floor where they would put their butt. That's how tall these suckers were. And just huge chairs and council. You could imagine a 35-foot or 40-foot giant and where he's going to sit. Anywhere he wants to. But old joke, right? L.A. Marzulli has done some wonderful things about giants. There's evidence that they still exist. Sort of like a Yeti, sort of like a oh man, Bigfoot. And a giant would have Bigfoot. And some of them could be hairy, you know. I know several people that need to shave their back once a month. They look like a bear. So, genetically saying, and scientifically, these folks are not giving us the whole truth. You know, it'd be one thing if they was just holding back. But in holding back, they have to lie. And they got some really big lies out there. And so they're not talking too much about some of the experiments at CERN for a bunch of reasons. If everybody knew how much electricity they was using, they would. Enough to power the United States for several days is what they use in like one day to power this thing. I mean, it's just ungodly. 14 tera electron volts. Oh my God. I mean, the city of New York could power for a while. I mean, just unbelievable. And these guys are chewing this stuff out. And it's a giant magnet. A giant magnet in the ground. Come on. Nobody's ever done this before, but it's not going to affect the earth. No, 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 no. We're going to put this huge magnet in the earth. We're going to turn it on. We're going to put stuff around it to create even more magnetism on a quantum level. So we can look at tiny little particles, and they actually want to break a hole in space-time because they're losing this war here on Earth. We are winning. They aren't. They tried to bring other beings from other planets here through a portal. I'm not going to say wormhole, a portal, but like a wormhole, meaning that it's a hole in space. Now, wormhole, basically the wormhole is supposed to like move around. And if you go on this side, you're not sure where it's going to come out this side. And like if you sent two spaceships an hour apart, this one might end up over here and this one might end up over here, going through the same hole. So that's what theory is on wormholes. Now, porthole is different. A portal is like what you would see on Stargate Atlantis, okay? Stargate. That would be a portal. They dial it in, and yes, they have 3 of them on the planet Earth, and 2 of them at least are working. Did you hear me? Stargate, at least 2 working on the planet Earth. With a 3rd, they have found, guess where? Over in the deserts of Iraq and Turkey and over there. They dug one up. Why did they go kill Saddam Hussein? Because he was trying to get a Stargate to work. Think about it. So, big war. Do they say they went over there to dig up a Stargate? No, because people would fly off the handle. But when you talk and find out the inside stuff from soldiers and this and a scientist and somebody worked on, how you gonna, a Stargate pretty good, Okay. But that's a portal from point A to point B. And you walk in this one and come out that one. It could be 10 miles. It could be 100 miles. It could be 500 million miles. The distance makes no difference. I mean, yeah, distance does not make a difference. Other than it might take you 2 seconds to go, where this one would be a half. But almost instantaneous. So distance really in these particular things doesn't matter because they're talking quantumly, which means almost exactly real time, same time. Just, they can't count how many, it would be like 0.00001. Okay, so there's 5 zeros difference in seconds. Ain't much. Now, when you run and track and stuff, they usually go to, like 2 tenths, sometimes 3 places. This is a 5-place decimal in seconds difference. Okay. So 1,000 miles might take you, you know, but a million miles is only going to take a, you know, 0.0 longer. Any of this come out of real science to you? No, I ain't heard it. I've been filtering. Thank God for the internet and YouTube and stuff. And for people who want to share the knowledge and not hoard it. Well, if I know how to fix this motor, you're going to have to come pay me whatever I want to fix it. For example, I'm going to quit. Hurricane Irma went through here the other 2 weeks ago now. And I was without electricity for 4 days. The whole neighborhood right here, which is odd. A friend of mine I saw the other day, he's just across the road, maybe 4 miles from me. He said their lights was only out 4 hours. So you never know, right? But for 4 days, no electricity, which meant the stuff in my freezer and my refrigerator not doing good. Now, I had packed my freezer full of ice and things and stuff because I was planning a camping trip. Well, it worked out because I had all this ice in the freezer. Well, I don't go in the freezer much anyway, so I just kept it shut. Refrigerator, on the other hand, meh. So my brother had to travel a motorhome, and like a 70s model, maybe early 80s, maybe. And nice refrigerator in it, right? That runs off of propane. So I took it out, which it needed to come out, and it was a good excuse. And I set it up, and I hooked a tank to it. And lo and behold, by golly, it started up. Now, it runs off of ammonia. That's how they made refrigerators way back in the day before they had Freon and stuff. And really? They're all worried about this CFC and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, you can make one of these things work really good with a Bic lighter if you could keep it on long enough. I mean, that's all the flame it needs is a Bic lighter flame to heat this thing, right? And by heating the ammonia, it turns it into a vapor. The vapor goes up through this condenser thingy, and it sucks, it draws the heat out of the refrigerator. It doesn't put cold in, it takes the heat out. Now, it didn't work real well, okay? And I used 20 pounds of LP in 2 days' time, and, well, that experiment. Now, so I go online and I'm thinking, okay, how long have these things been out, right? I mean, they had ice machines in 1800s, right? For people who couldn't afford a refrigerator. But they had big ice houses that used these big chillers that was run with ammonia, household ammonia. So I go online to check. I work on stuff all the time. I've worked on other refrigeration units before. One of my first jobs, a friend of the family's, he owned a refrigeration company, the Friedel's in Tampa. Belmar Refrigeration. One of my first jobs out of high school, right? And he taught me some about, air conditioning and so forth, and Freon and charging, blah, blah, blah. And I've learned a few things over the years, and cars and this and that. So I looked at this refrigerator and said, well, this looks simple. It can't be that hard to charge this thing, right? So I go looking for YouTube and places, this and that and the other thing. So the people who really know how, the guy says, well, you can take my course. It'll only cost you $15,000. What? This refrigerator doesn't even have a motor on it. Doesn't have a compressor. Not as, mechanical compressor. It's all in how this thing is built. Now, up to this point, I need to do more research. I've not been able to find anybody for less than 10 grand to find out how to fill this thing. I know it's low on aluminum. It's probably got a leak because it's steel and it's been out in this thing motorhome for years, rusting up. But a steel brush, I got a welder, I'll weld them holes up. But now how do I charge? How do I get the ammonia in, right? How much ammonia do I put in? Blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe there's the company that makes them would have, nope. So I look for another company to say, nope. Nobody will tell you how, unless you got thousands so far. Unless you got, I want to fix my fridge. I don't want to take a course. I'm 65 years old. I seriously doubt I'm going to start a business. Well, maybe. But to the point, you're kidding. You're kidding, right? No. You're $15,000. Well, $8,000 of that 15 was like some tools and training materials. Okay. So $7,000 to learn how to fill one up. It's greed. That man's already got so much business in fixing, repairing, and teaching. He put the price up so high, I can't go to him. I couldn't take his online course. I couldn't pay a third of it and be able to afford it in any way, shape, or form. But I would like to know how to fix my refrigerator. So this is greed. People have found out, oh, I got something you need. Oh, and you're willing to pay me a bunch. Oh, do I need it? $10,000 for a class for 6 months? Really? Well, you know something special, and it's a special niche. But $10,000 for 6 months? Come on. But that's what's wrong. People say that's capitalism. No, that's rape. The whole Ubuntu movement, the Linux computer movement, open source. Everybody can fix his own. And we can all have a virus thing, and nobody wants a virus. So we're all going to be looking out for a virus if some other idiot tries to pass one on to us, right? Instead of Microsoft, who only Microsoft guys know how the damn thing works, right? Well, and it's a big hog, and it crashes your computer. And it costs money. Over the 2, 4, 6, almost $800 for Windows programs only. $800. I have the discs. See, at 3, I've got the disc, but 1 I don't. But I do have the computer with a valid license. $800 in software just to be able to turn the computer on. And every single one that I've bought, I can't use. I can't use them because Windows made them obsolete. There you go. So they want to make us obsolete. Chemtrails in the sky. Lie about energy. We don't need oil for... We could use oil to lubricate. That's it. Make grease, wheel grease, stuff like that. That's it. We don't need it for diesel. We got plant-based stuff and not corn. Corn is a crappy way. It's... And the alcohol in the system will eventually ruin your engines and the rubber parts on the inside. Eventually. That's why I always use high test and try to get the least amount of alcohol. But to the other side of the coin, you can run alcohol. Did you know that P-38, I think, in World War II, ran off of a big circular engine piston thing, and it ran off of water? What? So there are people now who make O2 generators, like hydrogen peroxide, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's hooks up to a battery, and it puts off gas, and the gas is highly oxygenated. And if you could get a car tuned correctly, because of the computers nowadays and all these vehicles, it wants to advance the timing when it shouldn't, or it wants to retard the it has a timing issue. Now, in an older vehicle, you just loosen up a nut and look at the hash marks down at the bottom and give it a little turn, right? And bolt it back down and fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. I used to do that with my Volkswagen. I could get 35 miles to the gallon out of that 40 horse and run like a scalded dog. Now, so these people have stuff. We don't have to have oil spills. We don't have to have this crud on our streams, mucking up all the wildlife. I mean, my backyard, the spills they've had around here with tractors and chemicals and farmland. Ain't no fish in the ponds in the river no more. Not like they used to be. Frogs on the side and other little things. No. No. All the food chain from frogs and little things and little turtles and all the way up. Nope, all gone, because they killed them from the lower level up. So everybody's been starving. The birds don't come through here like they used to. There would be thousands of robins that would come through here every year. The geese that would fly over in 12, 15, 20 birds at a time. Honk, honk, honk. They don't come by. No honking. No geese. They used to. My neighbor has a pond over here, not far. I can see it if I turn my head just right through the windows there. But I'm upstairs, so I can see across the way. But there'd be 20 geese a night that would fly in. You could watch them circle over around sunset. This was a regular stopping place after he built that pond, because it's well protected the way he built it, and then the water is lower than the dam height, blah, blah, blah. And it was beautiful for these geese every single year until about 3 years ago. Now the geese don't fly north and south. They fly east and west. I mean, I heard some geese, I guess about a week ago. And there was only like 3 or 4 of them, not 20 or so like used to. I mean, there would be like 10 and 10. You could see them come in and they would make this huge circle and then come in and onto the ponds around here. Unbelievable. There were 3 birds. And it was almost like they were lost. Well, with the magnetism and everything being messed up on the earth, I've proven it with my compass on the floor. It modifies itself. Sometimes it'll change in a day. Sometimes, it'll be 5, 6, 8 degrees off for 2, 3 months. And then boom, all of a sudden it'll be back on dead north for 2, 3 weeks, then gone again. Sometimes it's gradual and sometimes it just goes. Well, it's no wonder these birds can't find their way. And if they're flying way up there, which they do, they're up there with all them gamma rays. And if we're getting bombarded down here on the ground level, them poor old birds ain't got a chance. Their brains are fried. They don't know which way to go. So I love you all. Honestly, I do. And I'm going to come up with other stuff. And I rambled on with this daggum thing way too long again. So maybe I'll chop it up. I love you all. NASA, never a straight answer. Space, check them out. floating in the space station? Nah. Look back and see when they had to call in a spacewalk because there were bubbles in the helmet of the astronaut. Don't forget the little cart that they sat on the moon with no track marks. Check it out. NASA's got the pictures. But if you don't have a trained eye, you're going to go, oh, look at that pretty thing sitting on the sand. But it takes another trained eye to go, but where are the tire marks? Where are the footprints of around? That's the other thing. No tire marks, that's one. But if you got it off of the limb and down onto the moon, there should be feet prints around it, right? I mean, you're going to go to the beach and you got your car out on the beach, and if you're going to get the car out and get your stuff out, right, there's going to be footprints in the sand around your car. Here's a beautiful picture of this vehicle on the moon with no footprints and no tire marks. It magically descended. Now, there's also a picture of, and it's funny, I forgot about this. I was thinking of them sweeping the sand to not leave footprints, because in one of those pictures, there's two prints, you know, left foot, well, actually right, you're left. Right foot, left foot, astronaut prints, you know, in the sand. And then next to it is a Nike. It's a sneaker beside it. Sneaker print, two astronaut prints. Okay, how did that sneaker print get up there beside them two astronaut prints? Just wondered. They don't give an answer, and they pulled the picture off of the NASA site so other people couldn't look at it. Damn, there's a sneaker print beside them. Oh, were they on the moon? Or is there air and they were walking around and one of them had their sneakers on, you know, and the other guy had his boots on, and one of them snapped a picture of the footprints. There you go. Science for you. Well, this is Hawkeye Two Feathers, my Native American name, thank you very much, that I've earned. David Null saying, null and void news is I'm the null in the void, man. You know what I'm saying? Because if real science was real science, there would be no void. Be nice to one another. Be kind to one another. Be compassionate. You and me and the guys next to us can change this paradigm. We need to stop arguing and calling other people names. You. Stop it already. We can have conversations. We can have discussions. We can even have heated discussions. But we don't have to talk about killing one another. We don't have to fight about it. We do have that much sense, don't we? Don't we? That we don't have to, all right, I got my Hawaii shirt on today, and it's beautiful. I hate your Hawaii shirt. I'm going to rip it off your back. Stupid stuff happens all the time. I've seen it. I've been involved in it. And people have called me chicken. But I've had my head banged enough. I've had my face beaten in. Okay? I've got scars on my nose. And I wasn't trying to fight. They wanted to beat me up. Me, I'm like, I'm not busting my knuckles. I've also know that inside of me, if there's an anger point, I think in all of us, some more than others, but mine I have kept quiet. But I know that there is an anger part of me that if I ever got a little bit ahead of somebody and what beating, punching, whatever, to keep them from hurting me, I'd put them out. I mean, to the point of like death. And it wouldn't be, I want to kill you. It would be, you SOB, you tried to kill me. And this is what I'm giving you back. That don't make none of it right. I don't want to ever be in that position. I have been. I've had to defend myself. I've had to defend other people. I've been shot at. I have been stabbed at. I have been cut. I have been beat, partially strangled, and etc. And none of it was worth it. Not 1 second made any difference about the situation at large. None of it. We have people today who are killing each other, and they don't know why. Because they were told to. The men who told them to should be the ones who were fighting. And the grunts and the privates and corporals and the sergeants should make a ring around all them captains and everybody and throw their butts in the middle and say, okay, fight it out. But we're going to sit here and eat popcorn and watch you. So you and me and my brothers and my other sisters and other brothers and sisters, if we just be nice to one another, you don't have to agree. You can say, you know what? I don't like that color. But if you do, I'm proud for you. Have a nice day. Well, I want you to eat this broccoli, spinach, rutabaga casserole. You want some? Yeah. Want to try a bite? Okay, I'll try one bite. If I don't like it, you promise you won't try to make me eat anymore. Okay, take a bite. I don't like it still. Okay, no offense. Well, I'm sorry you don't like it. And that, but people will kill each other over stuff like that. It's stupid. We got to stop arguing. The television, when it flickers your eyes, turn your eyes away. Because they're programming you with the flicker, 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 flicker. Your cell phone at 4 or 5G, it's coming in and it's sending brain waves into you. It's not allowing you to stay calm. It's keeping you hyper. In a waveform kind of hyper. So that if something you don't like, even if it's just like, I don't like that color. Okay. Instead of going, you know, I'm not partial to that color, but you must enjoy it because you're wearing it, right? Yes, my grandmother gave this shirt to me, and I don't really like the color either, but I was thinking about her today, so I wore the shirt. Well, that's wonderful that you still blah, 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 blah. Instead of, well, GD, that's a stupid shirt. Why don't you think only an idiot would wear a collared shirt like that. People do that. You may know people that do that. That's what we need to stop doing. If you don't like something, just say, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I don't like that, okay? And the other guy don't have to get mad at you because you don't like it. If you don't like the color red, fine. I like the color purple or greens or blues, or tomorrow I might be partial to black. I don't know. It's the mood I'm in today. My Hawaii shirt. So, if we quit arguing, be kind, compassion, with all these storms and stuff and people losing property, there's hungry people out there too. There are people who don't have enough clothes. They lost stuff in the storms. You know, I mean, if you've ever been in any kind of a storm that just, you know, that's how we get into next year and the next year and the next year. That's how we learn about plasma, and we learn about healing with sounds. We learn about healings with, you know, marijuana being worse than heroin. Are you serious? Are you serious? Marijuana as bad as heroin, but crack cocaine isn't. Crack cocaine is a lesser drug than weed. Weed grows natural. Crack cocaine don't. Do we live in a weird society or what? Be kind, be sweet. I love you. Till next time. Space is not what you think. It's not empty. It's full of stuff. And we're going to find out what he did. I'm going to get my Star Cruiser. I've already been told that I'm a really excellent starfighter pilot, so I hope I get to see it in real life one of these days. I love you all. Have a happy Sunday. Till next time.